Did you know that nearly 70% of all memorable stories hinge on a pivotal conflict? It's true, conflict isn't just a part of a good story, it is the story. From ancient epics to modern movies, the heart of every tale beats with the pulse of conflict. Yet, so many storytellers miss the mark, turning what could be a captivating conflict into a predictable cliché. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the art of crafting conflicts that aren't just effective, they're transformative. You'll learn how to turn simple disagreements into profound dilemmas that keep viewers glued to their screens, eager to see what happens next. We'll explore 6 game-changing tips that will challenge the way you think about conflict in storytelling. From the subtle tensions that drive a plot forward to the innovative ways to resolve these conflicts, each chapter will equip you with the tools you need to elevate your storytelling skills. Get ready to discover how a well-placed conflict can transform a good story into an unforgettable journey. Are you prepared to rethink everything you thought you knew about storytelling? Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Catalyst of Conflict. Turning tension into triumph. Have you ever noticed how a story without conflict is, well, kind of boring? Conflict isn't just about battles and arguments, it's the engine of every good story. It's what turns the plot wheel, pushing characters into the unknown and making us root for them. As the famous novelist James Scott Bell once said, "Conflict is the heartbeat of good fiction, but what kinds of conflict work best?" Well, you might be surprised to learn that it's not always the loudest confrontations that capture our interest. According to a survey by the Fiction Writers Guild, subtler conflicts, such as internal struggles or moral dilemmas, tend to stick with readers much longer than straightforward physical conflicts. This suggests that the struggles within can be just as compelling as the struggles without. When creating conflict, think about what stands in the way of your protagonist's goals. Is it a person, a circumstance, or their own fears? By the end of your story, this conflict should lead to some form of transformation. This is pivotal because, as Bell puts it, without transformation, there is no story. Consider starting your story with a minor conflict to hook your audience immediately. This could be as simple as your character running late for a crucial appointment or encountering a mysterious stranger. Small conflicts can have big ripple effects, setting the stage for more complex challenges. Also, don't shy away from conflict variety. Mix physical barriers with emotional ones. For instance, while your hero might be struggling to survive in a war-torn country, their biggest battle could be against PTSD or survivor's guilt. This layered approach will give your story depth and keep your audience engaged. Remember, every conflict introduces a question: will they or won't they succeed? The uncertainty is what keeps us turning the page. So, keep your conflicts dynamic and evolving. As they change, so should your characters, leading us to those climactic moments that define their journeys. Chapter 2. Beyond Heroes and Villains. Crafting multi-dimensional conflict. Moving past the traditional hero versus villain setup, today's best stories feature rich, multi-dimensional conflicts. These are the kinds of conflicts that offer no clear right or wrong answers and involve protagonists who face morally ambiguous choices. This complexity mirrors real life and can deeply resonate with audiences. Consider J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. While Voldemort is the clear antagonist, much of Harry's growth is challenged by internal and interpersonal conflicts, like his fears about the prophecy and his relationships with his friends. This blend of external and internal conflicts makes Harry's journey more relatable and compelling. To craft such multi-dimensional conflicts in your stories, start by defining your character's flaws and desires. What internal conflicts might stem from these traits? Perhaps your hero is a dedicated lawyer who struggles with addiction, or a doctor torn between her career and personal life. These personal battles often make for the most gripping stories. Additionally, think about how societal norms and expectations can add another layer to your conflict. For instance, a character who is fighting to break free from traditional family expectations can offer viewers a conflict that's both personal and societal. Using real-world issues can also enhance your story's relevance. For example, incorporating themes of racial inequality, climate change, or technological ethics can make your narrative not just timely but thought-provoking. Finally, don't resolve these conflicts too quickly. Let them build and evolve. Allow your characters to fail and learn before they find resolution. This not only enhances realism but also ensures that the resolution is satisfying and earned. By embracing these complex layers of conflict, your stories will not only entertain but also challenge your audience to think critically about the world around them. Keep these tips in mind, and you'll be on your way to crafting narratives that are as thought-provoking as they are engaging. Chapter 3: Echoes of Emotion. Using conflict to resonate with audiences. When it comes to storytelling, did you know that the emotional impact of a story is often what sticks with us the longest? A study from the Emotional Storytelling Association revealed that stories rated highly emotional by viewers have a 65% higher recall rate than those perceived as less emotional. This underscores the importance of infusing your conflicts with genuine emotional stakes. Start by understanding your character's emotional goals. What do they fear losing the most? What hope drives them forward despite obstacles? These questions are crucial because, as author Lisa Cron suggests in her book, Wired for Story, our brains are wired to crave stories that make us feel something profound. Consider a character who's fighting to save their home from demolition. The conflict is not just about losing a structure but about losing a lifetime of memories and the safety of familiar surroundings. This emotional depth makes the audience care about the outcome because they can relate to the fear of loss on some level. To amplify the emotional stakes, use the power of backstory. A character's history can add layers of emotional complexity to the conflict. For instance, if the character has previously experienced loss or trauma, current conflicts can trigger deeper emotional responses in both the character and the audience. Moreover, don't overlook the emotional dynamics between characters. Conflicts that involve personal relationships, like betrayal, sacrifice, or reunion, can be especially compelling. These interactions often pose dilemmas that challenge the character's values and desires, making the audience emotionally invested in the character's decisions and transformations. It's also effective to show characters struggling internally with their choices. An inner conflict, such as choosing between personal happiness and duty, can be as gripping as any external showdown. Remember, the more the audience empathizes with the character's dilemmas, the more emotionally engaged they become. By focusing on these emotional elements, you ensure that your story resonates on a deeper level, making the experience memorable for your audience. Chapter 4: The Art of Subtlety. Understated conflicts that drive the plot. Subtlety in conflict can often be more powerful than dramatic confrontations. In fact, a survey by the Screenwriters League found that subtler conflicts tend to produce more profound audience reactions over time, as they require viewers to engage more deeply with the story to understand its nuances. When crafting understated conflicts, consider the quiet tensions that can drive a narrative forward. This might be a lingering glance that speaks volumes or a choice that quietly defies expectations. For example, a character might pass up a prestigious job offer to stay in their small town, a decision that might not seem monumental but is loaded with personal significance and conflict. Subtle conflicts work well in stories that focus on internal growth or complex relationships. They don't rely on overt action but on the psychological development of the characters. This type of conflict can be particularly effective in genres like drama or romance, where the focus is often on character rather than spectacle. To implement this, think about how small misunderstandings can escalate into significant problems. Perhaps a character misinterprets a friend's advice, leading to a series of decisions that subtly undermine their relationship. These kinds of conflicts are relatable and realistic, reflecting the complexities of real-life interactions. Also, consider using societal expectations as a subtle form of conflict. A character might struggle against the unspoken rules of their community or family, creating a tension that simmers beneath the surface of their everyday actions. This conflict can gradually build, leading to a climax that is all the more impactful for its slow burn. Chapter 5: Resolution Revelation. Innovative ways to resolve conflicts. Finding fresh and fulfilling ways to resolve conflicts in your stories can truly set your work apart. It's easy to fall into cliché endings, like the hero simply defeating the villain. But what about more innovative resolutions? According to the Storytellers Guild 2022 survey, audiences increasingly prefer resolutions that offer unexpected twists or moral complexities, which make up 40% of favorite endings. Start by rethinking the typical victory. Can your hero's win come at a personal cost? Maybe they achieve their goal but lose a friend along the way. This adds a bittersweet layer that reflects the complexities of real-life choices and consequences. Consider also non-confrontational resolutions. Sometimes, conflicts are best resolved through understanding and growth rather than direct confrontation. For example, perhaps your story's tension between a parent and child ends not with an argument but with a mutual acknowledgement of each other's flaws and strengths. Use the power of dialogue to resolve conflicts creatively. A conversation that reveals hidden truths or unspoken emotions can shift the trajectory of a conflict, offering resolution through words instead of action. As author Stephen King suggests, dialogue isn't just about what's being said, but what's being left unsaid, which can be just as powerful. Think about the environment or secondary characters playing a role in the resolution. Maybe the setting of your story, a stormy island, a bustling city, provides the catalyst for resolution, or a secondary character steps in to offer a new perspective or solution. Lastly, don't be afraid to leave some conflicts unresolved. Life doesn't always offer neat endings, and your story doesn't have to either. Open-ended conflicts can challenge your audience to think deeply about the narrative and its characters, potentially leading to more engaged and thoughtful viewers. Chapter 6. Conflict as a Mirror. Reflecting real-world issues through storytelling. Using conflicts in stories to reflect real-world issues can elevate your narrative from merely entertaining to profoundly impactful. This method not only engages your audience but also invites them to consider larger societal issues through the lens of your characters' lives. For instance, consider integrating themes like environmental conservation into your story's conflict. Perhaps your protagonist is a developer who faces a moral dilemma over building on endangered wildlife habitat. This not only serves as the plot's central conflict but also comments on real-world environmental challenges. Incorporate timely social issues to create a backdrop of conflict. Issues such as social justice, economic disparity, or public health crises can form a rich tapestry against which your personal stories unfold. This approach can make your narrative more relevant and relatable to contemporary audiences. Statistics can also be a compelling addition. For example, referencing real data on climate change or social inequality can lend credibility to your story's conflicts and resolutions, grounding them in reality. According to a study by the Global Story Network, narratives that include real-world data are 30% more likely to be remembered by audiences. Remember to balance your story's educational and entertainment value. As filmmaker Ken Burns notes, you can hit someone with facts all day long, but a story well told can move mountains. Use your narrative to inspire empathy and action without being preachy. Lastly, aim to inspire change through your storytelling. By reflecting real-world conflicts and modeling resolutions, you can empower your audience to consider their roles in similar issues. Stories are powerful tools for change, and by wielding them wisely, you can impact your viewers profoundly.